Excel is what? Excel is called as a flat database or a spreadsheet. Spreadsheet or a worksheet. A spreadsheet or a worksheet means it is made up of rows and columns, right? So how many rows and columns do you think is present in Excel sheet? How many rows and how many columns? Any rough guesses? Any number that pops out in your mind? Okay, let us check it out. When you're on a blank sheet, press Ctrl and down arrow. When you're on a blank sheet, press Ctrl and down arrow. When you press Ctrl and down arrow, it will take you to the last row. So here you can see there are 10,48,576 rows. Okay, so each Excel sheet has this many numbers of rows. Likewise, let us see how many columns we have. Now when I press Ctrl and down arrow, it takes me to the last row. Likewise, how do you go to the last column? Ctrl and right arrow. Okay, but when I press Ctrl and right arrow, it takes me to the last column, fine. But you can't see the column number here. You can just see some alphabets here, except D. Like you can see the row numbers, the column numbers are not visible, right? Now suppose I want to see how many columns are there. We are going to use a function for this. I'll select any cell in the last column and I'll type equals column, open and close bracket. Okay, equals column, open and close bracket, and press enter. This is a function which will give me the column number of any column. Since I am in the last column, this is going to give me the column number of the last one. Suppose I give the same function in the first column, it will give me the number as 1. Okay, so it will always return me the column number of the present column. So each Excel sheet has 10,48,576 rows and 16,384 columns. Fine. I am in the last column. From here, I want to directly go to the first cell. So what is the quickest method? So one method is I can press control left, then control up arrow, right? That is 2 steps. Instead of that, you press control home. Control home will take you from anywhere to the first cell. From anywhere, if you want to go to the first cell, you just press control home. Likewise, how do I jump to a specific cell, say J200? From here, I want to directly go to the cell J200. What is the quickest method?
Row 200, J.
No. Can you see A1 written here on left of that formula bar? Can you see there is a field where A1 is written? Okay, that particular field is called as a name box. What does the name box display? The current position of your cell. So if you can see in my screen, I have kept my mouse on that particular field and it is showing name box. So the name box will always display the current position of your cell. So if I want to go to J200, one method is you click on the name box, type J200 and press enter. Okay, that is one method. Or the other method is you press Ctrl G. When you press Ctrl G, it will display a window like this. This is called as the go to window. Here also in the reference you can type any cell address where you want to jump. You can also press the function key F5. It will display the same way. So these are some shortcuts to navigate in a worksheet, right? control down to go to the last row, control right to go to the last column, equals column, open and close bracket to display the column number, control home to go to the first cell, control G to go to any specific cell. Fine, everyone? Now, like I said earlier, we'll be starting with the basics and gradually we'll move to the advanced functionalities. So in the blank sheet, in A2, just type this. You can type any random values or you can also type the values that I am typing here. Don't type the values for commission, gross, income tax and net. We'll be calculating it. Enter the values only for sales, purchase, expenses and fixed costs. Once done, just tell me. Done. Yeah. Now we need to calculate the commission for all the years. Let us say the commission is 2% on the sales. So normally what we do is we calculate the commission for 2010 and then copy and paste it or drag it across for calculating the commission for the other years. That is absolutely right. But I'll show you alternative method. Okay. What I'll do is I'll select the whole commission row. That is from B5 to E5. Fine. When you select a range, the first cell is called as the active cell or the current cell. For example, if I select a range, then the first cell, that is H2, is called as the active cell. Whenever you select any range, the first cell will be the active cell and it will not be shaded. So here, when I select the commission row, that is B5 to E5, B5 is called as the active cell or the current cell. After this, I am going to type the formula. So when I type the formula, it will always displayed in the active cell. Once you select the range, don't click anywhere, directly type the formula. So it will be displayed in the active cell. So it will be sales multiplied by 2%. Okay. Now if I press enter, it is going to give the result only for the current cell. But I want to fill the entire selected range. So I'll press Ctrl and enter at the same time. Ctrl enter at the same time. So you'll see that whatever range you have selected, that has been entirely filled with the results. Okay. This is just a alternative method. Even the first method of calculating the commission for a particular year and then dragging it across is absolutely right. Okay, I am just showing you a alternative method. One thing you need to remember is that you select the range first, the formula, then control enter. Control enter at the same time. Clear, everyone? Now, now during the training program, if you have any queries, any doubts, you can always type it in the chat box, or you can also raise your hand, or you can also unmute yourself and ask me the query. Okay. Anytime you feel any concept or topic is not clear, always you can speak out. Likewise, we will calculate the gross. So for calculating the gross, I selected B7 to E7. Now gross will be what? Total sales minus total expenses. So equals the sales, that is B2, minus, now one method is, in a bracket I can plus all the expenses, that is purchase plus expenses plus commission plus fixed cost. But this will be very time consuming if you have hundreds of values, right? So what I can do is, I can use a function called as sum from B3 to B6, then control it. B2 minus sum of B3 to B6. Okay. Likewise, for calculating the tax, we'll calculate the tax as 30% of gross. So equals gross multiplied by 30%. Control enter. It will be just gross minus tax. I have displayed all the formulas. You can just try it.
Hi, I have one point.
Uh-huh.
When you have mentioned the formula like B2 minus sum of B3 to B6 and enter, control enter, then it was
Right.
giving the answers for all the columns, right?
Right.
But when I'm doing that, it is giving me the answer only for one column. So is I'm missing
Have you-
anything?
Yeah. Did you select the entire range first?
Like yes, I did is equal B2 minus sum B3.
No. What I'm asking is, no. Before you gave the formula, did you select the entire range first? That is the range from B7 to E7.
How to do that?
Did you select a single cell or did you select?
Yes, I selected single cell.
If you select a single cell, it will give the formula only for that single cell. So you need to
Okay.
select the entire range first, entire
Okay.
row of that commission, then give the formula and then you press control.
Okay, got it.
Just try it.
Yes.
Hello. But when I
Yeah.
try to put the formula, it highlights only one cell.
So in your case also you must have selected only a single cell. You want me to show it once again, everyone?
Yes,
Okay.
it's better when you
Yeah,
show one.
fine. Yeah, I will.
No, okay. For me.
Ah. I'll remove the gross, tax and net. See, first we need to select the entire range. If only single cell is selected, then it will display the result only for that particular cell. So we need to select the range first. So I need to calculate the gross. So I'll select the gross row, that is B7 to E7. Okay, B7 to E7. So the entire row has to be selected. So whenever you select a range, the first cell will be the active cell or the current cell. Then you just type equal to. Now once you select the range, don't click with the mouse, because if you click with the mouse, it will select only the active cell. Okay. So once you select the range, don't click anywhere, don't type anywhere, just type equal to. It will automatically be displayed in the active cell. So equals B2, that is the sales value, minus sum. But sum of what? All the expenses, that is from purchase to fixed. Then close the bracket, control enter. Likewise, for calculating the tax, select the range from B8 to E8, then equals, we'll calculate tax as say 30% of gross, control enter, then net is going to be gross minus tax.
So what is the key we have to press to see the formula?
Yeah, I'll come to that. First to do all the calculations. Is this clear, everyone?
Yes.
Is the must.
Now you see that the formula for commission is B2 into 2%. But when you go to the next column, it has become C2 multiplied by 2%, then D2 multiplied by 2%, right? So whenever you copy and paste the formula or drag it across, the cell address will automatically change. Cell address means here you can see it is B2 for 2010, for 2011 it has automatically become C2, D2, E2. Likewise, if you look at the gross formula, B2 minus sum of B3 to B6, then in the next column it has automatically become C2 minus sum of C3 to C6, right? So whenever you give any formula or function, the cell address will automatically change when you are going to drag it across or copy and paste. And this particular reference is called as relative reference. Relative reference means the cell address means the row and the column will automatically change. This is the default reference. Whenever you give any formula or function, it will be always relative. Now, suppose I want to edit a formula. Suppose I want to edit the formula of gross for 2010. There are multiple methods. In Excel, for doing the same thing, we have multiple methods. So one method is, I can click on the formula bar and make any changes that I want. Or I can also double click on that particular cell to make any changes. Or I can also press the function key F2. But when I press F2 or double click it, it will show me the formula only for the current cell. But suppose I want to see all the formulas at the same time, we have a shortcut for that. Now in your laptop or desktop, you will see that below the escape key on the keyboard, below the escape key, you have a symbol like this. This particular symbol is called as tilde, sine wave. Okay? This is called as tilde. So if I press, you can keep your cell anywhere, and if I press Control and tilde at the same time, it is going to show all the formulas in the entire sheet. Control and tilde at the same time will show all the formulas. Likewise, if I press Control tilde again, it will display the values. Okay, so this is a shortcut. Now suppose you forget the shortcut, you have that particular option in the tab also. Suppose I want to do the same thing using the tab. You click on the formulas tab. You can see on the screen the formulas tab. On the right hand side, there is something called as formula auditing. There is a group called as formula auditing. In that formula auditing, if you can see, I have kept my mouse on that. There is an option called as show formula, and if you click on that, it is going to show all of it. Again, you click on that, it will display the one. Okay. So Control and tilde is a shortcut for that. You can either use the shortcut or you can also go to that particular option. Right. Now, this is my table here. I want to select the whole table. So what is the quickest method? Whole table. One method is you can always drag it with the mouse. But suppose you have a huge data, if you are going to drag, it can take some time, right? Instead of that, can I use a shortcut here to select the whole table? Suppose my cell is inside the table, and if I press Ctrl A, only the active table will be selected. But suppose my cell is outside, and if I press Ctrl A, the whole sheet will get selected. So the selection of cell is very important. If you want to select only the active cell, active table, just keep your cell anywhere inside and you press Ctrl A. But suppose you want to select the whole sheet, here box, or you can also select any cell, any blank cell, and you press Ctrl. Fine. Now select only the table. Select only the table and press the function key F11. Select only the table and press the function key F11 and see what happens. What happens when you press F11, the function key F11?
It's showing a graph.
Chart.
Perfect. Perfect. So F11, yeah, F11 is a shortcut for plotting a chart, and that chart will be plotted in a new sheet. We'll say something called as chart 1. Okay. Now in some laptops, when you press F11, it might change the brightness of the screen. In that case, what you need to do is, you need to press, there is a key called as Fn, there is a function key. So in that case, you need to press the function key and then you press F11. Okay. In some laptops, to activate the function keys, you need to press the function key Fn and then you press the function. Fine. Otherwise, you can directly press it. So what you do is, first you check, you press F11 and check whether your chart is getting plotted or not. If it is not getting plotted, then you press the function key and F11. Now, when the chart is selected, on the top you will see two more tabs called as design and format. Okay. These tabs are called as contextual tabs. So this will be displayed only when the chart is selected. Suppose I click outside the chart, then those tabs will not be displayed. So whenever you select any object like chart or a table, you will have some additional tabs which are called as contextual tabs. Now this particular graph, it is displaying the column graph. Now suppose I want to change the graph, you click on design. Okay. In my case it is chart design. In your case it might be just design. Under chart tools, design and format. So click on design. Change chart size, and from here we see a window which will display all the different types of charts that can be plotted, and I can select line graph, pie graph, bar graph. Likewise, you also get some chart styles on the top. So if you expand that particular window, you see different charts. You can also have a 3D graph. In change chart type, when you select the column option, you can see on the top there are some different types of graphs for the same column graph. So if you keep your mouse on that, it will show you what that particular graph is. So the first one is clustered column, second is stacked column. Likewise, if you go to the end, there is something called as 3D column. So 3D column will be something. Okay, 3D chart. Come back to the clustered column, 2 dimensions. Likewise, when the graph is selected, you'll also see there is a plus symbol on the right top. So if I want to display the values, or if I want to remove the grid lines, you can click on the plus symbol and uncheck grid lines. Likewise, check data labels. Checking the data labels will display the values above the bars. Okay. Likewise, this white background that you see behind the columns, these are called as a plot area. We can also display some images or company's logo in the plot area. So for that, either you can right click and select format plot area, or you can also double click anywhere in the background and you'll see a window like this on the right hand side. Here I'll click on fill and select picture or texture. So the moment I select picture or texture fill, you'll see some inbuilt background designs here. We can also insert images. Suppose I want to insert an image. Just below these options, you have an option called as picture source. I'll click on insert, and either I can put an image from the net, or I can also put an image that is already stored in the system. So I'll click on online pictures. We can also have something called as a gradient fill. Now gradient fill is nothing but multiple colors. So if I select gradient fill, you get something. We have different shades of colors. Now suppose I want to create the color combination of the Indian flag. We have gradient strokes. There is something called a gradient stroke at the bottom here, and you have some pointers here. You can select these pointers and select different colors for them. So I select the first pointer from the left hand side, click on the drop down of fill color and select say orange. Then the second pointer, you can also add or delete the pointers. Just next to that you have the icons for that. The fourth one, we'll select it as green. You can also change the position of the pointers. Now suppose I want to type some text here, I can go to insert. In insert there is a group called as text on the extreme right hand side. From there I'll select word art. And here I will write welcome. Clear everyone? Hello?
Yes.
Fine. Now, where is the data for this particular graph? The data for the graph is in sheet 1. Right. So when you press F11, the graph will be plotted in a new sheet. Okay. But suppose I want a graph in the same sheet. Again, there are multiple methods. One method is Control A to select the whole range, and then you click on Insert. When you click on Insert, we have a group called as Charts, from where I can plot any chart here. So it will be plotted in the same sheet. This is one method. Or there is also a shortcut for that. Once you select the range, you press Alt F1. Alt F1 is a shortcut for plotting a graph in the same sheet. Alt plus the function key F1. And how do you delete a graph? Just select it and delete it. You can also right click and delete it. So we have seen relative reference and we have seen how to plot a chart. Fine. Now the next topic is, we will see two more references. So go to the cell A15, type 10,000. And in B14, 10%. Just create a table like this. Now we need to calculate 10% of 10,000. Okay, so it will be equals A15 multiplied by B4. 10% of 10,000. Now can I drag it across? I can drag it, right?
Yes, you can.
But when I drag it, why is it showing me 260.24?
It is taking B15.
Right. But why? Because by default, it will be
Percentage is
always
getting changed.
correct. Because by default, it will be always relative reference. So here it is A15 into B14, but when I drag it to the next column, it has become B15 into C14, C15 into D14, because by default, whenever you give any formula or function, it will be always relative reference. Relative reference means the cell address will automatically change. But I don't want 200 here. What I want here is 20% of 10,000, and instead of 60, what I want is 30% of 10,000. So what I'll do is, I'll go to my original formula here and put a dollar sign before A and after A. Fine. After this, now if I drag it across, it is going to give me the correct value. Okay. I have put a dollar sign before A and before 15. Now let us see what this dollar sign does. Now the cell A15. Now when I put a dollar sign before A, that means the A column is completely locked. It is fixed. Likewise, when I put a dollar sign before 15, that means the 15th row is completely locked. So when I have a dollar sign before A, that is a column, and before 15, that is a row, the value in A15 is completely locked. After that, even if you drag it across or downward, it will always take the value that is in A15. Okay. If you want to check it out, if I press Control and tilde, you see that everywhere it is A15. Earlier it was showing B15, C15, but now the value of A15 has become a constant. And this is called as absolute reference. Earlier we had seen relative reference, that means the cell address will change. The second one is absolute. Absolute reference means the cell address is locked. And how do you lock it? By inserting a dollar sign. If the dollar sign is inserted before the column, that means the column is locked. And if you insert the dollar sign before the row, that means the row is locked. Like you can see here. $A, $15 multiplied by B4. Now, let us see what happens if we drag it downwards. Okay. Now, when I drag it downwards, it should give me 10% of 10,000. Below that, 10% of 20,000, 10% of 30,000, then 10% of 40,000. So, if I drag it down, it is not giving me the correct value. So, what should be the change?
dollar sign remove before 15.
Okay. Now will this work? Okay, let us check it out. We have removed the dollar sign before 15. That means the row has been unlocked, right? See, what will be the formula here for calculating that 10% of 20,000? It is going to be equals A16 multiplied by B14 again. For calculating 10% of 30,000, it is going to be A17 multiplied by B14 again. That means what? The value in B14 should remain constant, right? But the row should change. So what you said about removing the dollar sign before 15 is absolutely right, but we need to lock the value that is in B14. And how do you lock it? By inserting a dollar sign before B and before 14. Now, typing the dollar signs manually is time consuming, so we also have a shortcut for this. Keep your cursor anywhere between B14 and press F4, the function key F4. The moment you press the F4 function key, automatically dollar signs will be inserted on both the sides. Okay, now if you repeatedly press F4, see what happens. Right now it is $B, $14. Again I press F4, it has become $B14. That means the column has been unlocked and the row is locked. Again I press F4, it has become $B14. That means the column is locked and the row is unlocked. Again I press F4, it has become relative. Okay, so now I make the B14 value absolute. Now if I drag it down, it should give me the correct values. We have unlocked the row in A15 because when you drag it down, the row should change. A15, A16, A17, but that 10% should remain constant. That is why we have locked B14. Now what about 20%? So for calculating 20% of all these values, that is 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, one method is remove the dollar sign before 15, lock C14, then you drag it. This is absolutely right. But I have only 4 columns here, I can easily do it. But what if I have some 20-25 columns? Should I do the same process 20-25 times, or can I have a single formula here which will work across as well as downwards? It should work even if I drag it across or even if I drag it downwards. When I drag it downwards, what should change? Should the row change or the column change? When I drag it downwards, the row should change. A15 should become A16, A17, A18. But when I drag it across, what should change? Should the row change or the column change?
Column.
Column should change. That means B14 should become C14 because where 20% is in C14, D14, E14, right? So if I want the column to change, should I remove the dollar sign before B or before 14? Before B, right? Because we need to unlock the column. 14 is a row. So this should give me the values across as well as downwards. Let us check it out. I'll first drag it across, then I'll drag it down. you can't drag it diagonally. Either you drag it down, then you drag it across, or you can also drag it across first and then drag it down. So you can see that we have a single formula which gives me all the values correctly. Okay. When you have values in this case, in this formula we'll see that in case of A15, the column is changed. Sorry, the column is locked and the row is unlocked. But in case of B14, the column is unlocked and the row is locked. Right? So when you have either the row or the column locked, it is called as mixed reference. So in Excel we have mainly three types of references. So mixed reference means either or row is so whenever you give any formula or function, it will be either relative, absolute or fixed depending on the object. Is this clear, everyone? Any doubts or difficulties here? Any doubts, any difficulties? Yeah, thank you. Save the file, save as. What you can do is you can create a folder in your name or maybe on the subject and you can save all the files. You can name it as references or basics. Now, I want to insert a blank sheet in this workbook. How will you insert a blank sheet in the same workbook? Again, you have multiple methods. You right click on any sheet and select insert. That is one method. Or you will notice that there is a plus symbol here on the bottom where you can see the sheet names. Even if I click on the plus symbol, it will insert a new sheet. Or you also have a keyboard shortcut. Shift F11 will insert a blank sheet. Shift F11 will insert a blank sheet in the same workbook. So insert a blank sheet. Now to remove the grid lines, you click on View. On the top you have many tabs: Home, Insert, Page Layout. Click on View and uncheck the grid lines. So we'll get a plain sheet. We will type products and we have say 4 areas. Metro cities. Products are just create the table. Again, you can type any random values here.
Hello.
Yeah.
Actually, I got disconnected for 2-3 minutes. I wanted to ask, like, the purpose of $A is to make that column constant throughout the row, and the purpose of $A is what? Can you please repeat?
$A.
Yeah, $A.
$A will lock the entire column from the first row itself. If I put it like this, this is what you are asking, right? $A. Hello.
I'm asking $A, then you have written B. Yeah, over here, this will make this A15 constant throughout the row, right? The 10,000 value will be considered in all the rows.
Correct.
But if
When
you
you put
make
a-
it
when you-
$A, then what happens? That's what I'm asking.
See, $15 is going to lock only this 10,000. Okay, now see here, I made it $15 multiplied by $14. Now see what happens. If I drag it downwards, it will give me 1000 everywhere, because it has made this particular value A15 a constant. So everywhere it will take A15. If you look at the value, see A15, A15, A15. Everywhere it will be A15. Even if I drag it across, it will give me like this. So everywhere you will see the A15 value does not change. So this is called as a absolute reference. Absolute reference means that remains absolutely constant. That will not change anywhere. Even if you drag it down across, it will always take the value that is in A15.
Okay.
But $sign, if I remove the $sign before 15, that means what? The row has been unlocked. Okay, and now if I drag it down, see what happens. So first it is A15. After that, it has automatically become A16, A17, A18. Earlier what was happening? It was giving A15 everywhere. That was because we had locked the row also.
Okay, understood.
Right? So get inside your blank sheet and just create a table like this. Now these are the sales figures in these 4 metro cities. Okay. Now what we need to do is we need to calculate the percentage sale of each product. Percentage sale of each product means I want to see how much is the percentage sale of ice creams in Mumbai, how much is the percentage sale of biscuits in Mumbai, like that. Okay. How do you do this? Suppose I am getting 400 marks out of 600. How will I calculate the percentage? 400 divided by 600. Right? And if I want it in percentages, I need to multiply this by 100. So it says I have got 66.66%. So if I want to calculate the percentage sale of each product, we should be calculating the total sales first. Only after you have calculated the total sales, you can calculate the percentage. Now, how do you calculate the total sales of the products in Mumbai or other methods? So one method is I can use equal sum and select the range, or I can also select B7 and in the home tab on the extreme right hand side you have a summation symbol. I can click on that also, right? I'll show you an easier method. I'll select the entire total row, that is B7 to E7. Okay, B7 to E7, and I'll press Alt equal to. Alt equal to. Alt equal to is the keyboard shortcut for summation. Even if you write equal to sum, select the range and drag it across, it is absolutely right. I am just showing a alternative method. You can use whichever method is convenient for you. Okay, I show it once again. Select the whole total row and you press Alt equal to. So this is the shortcut for summation. Okay. Now I want to calculate the percentages. Now how do you calculate the percentages? I want it after these cities in between Mumbai and Delhi. So one method is I need to insert a column. So I can click on the column head, right click and click on insert. This is one method to insert a column, or we can also use a keyboard shortcut. I want to insert a column, blank column between Mumbai and Delhi. So keep your selection on Delhi and you press Alt IC. Alt IC will insert a blank column. Likewise, even in Chennai, between Delhi and Chennai, I want a blank column, Alt IC, and I want a blank column after Chennai, again Alt IC, and one more column. So Alt IC is the shortcut for inserting a blank column. What would be the shortcut for inserting a blank row? Alt IR. Alt IR. We need to calculate the percentage sale of each product. How will you do that? I want to find out how much is 125 from 310. So equals B3 divided by the total sales. So Excel says that the sales of ice cream in Mumbai is 40%. Now, if you want to calculate the percentages, we need to multiply it by 100. That is one method. Okay. Now the other method is we can also format the cell to percentages. Now even for formatting you have multiple methods. One method is right click, format cells, and select the percentage, or in the home tab you have this percentages option here. You can also select that. Laser method you can select. Format cells, select percent. So it says the sale of ice creams in Mumbai is 40.32% of the total sales. Now can I drag it down? Okay, let us see what happens when I drag it down. It is giving me division by 0 because the first cell, it is absolutely right, B3 divided by B7, but when I go to the next cell, it is saying B4 divided by B8. B8 is blank, that is what is giving me division by 0. So what should be the value in the other cells?
B7.
Yeah, so we need to lock B7.
Absolute reference.
Absolutely right, perfect. B3 divided by B7, and since the value of B7 should remain constant, you make it absolute. The shortcut is F4. So if you are getting 1 or 100%, that means the calculations are correct. Okay. Now what about Delhi? One method is I can copy this.
Hello.
Yeah.
I'm not getting a percent value, I'm getting the fraction value. Do I need to multiply by 100?
Either you can multiply it by 100 or you go to format cells, right click, format cells, and select the percentage option. So when you select percentage format, it will automatically multiply it by 100. So we have got the values for Mumbai. Now I need to get the same for Delhi. So one method is I can copy this and paste it. But when I paste it, it is saying D3 divided by B7 again. So B has to be replaced with D, right? Again, this is going to be time consuming. So instead of that, can I make some changes in this formula? And when I copy and paste it, it gives me the correct values for Delhi, Chennai, Kolkata. Can I make some changes here so that when I copy and paste it, it gives me the correct value?
Remove the dollar sign after B.
After B
Yeah.
or before B? We want the column to change, right? B7, D7, F7.
Yeah, before B, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So we need to remove the dollar sign before B because I want the column to be unlocked. Now I have made changes only in the first row. The rest of the rows still have the old form. So after you make the changes, any changes, you need to drag it again so that the changes will be applied to the entire range. Then you just need to copy it and paste it. Again, paste. Again, paste. Only slight change you need to do. Remove the dollar sign before B and then copy and paste. B3 divided by B dollar sign. Clear, everyone? Everyone select the payroll sheet. Now this is just a dummy database, right? What is important is understanding the concepts and the functions. Once the concepts and the functions have been understood, they can be used on any database. Now for our training program, we will not make any changes to this original database. So what we'll do is we'll create a copy of this payroll sheet and learn the concept and the functions on it. Now how will you create a copy of the payroll sheet? Again, there are multiple methods. Right click on the payroll sheet. One method is right click on the sheet name, move or copy. You'll get a window like this and check create a copy. What this will do is it will create a duplicate copy of the payroll sheet. Okay, and you can rename it as calculations. I'll explain the whole process once again. Select the payroll sheet. To create a copy of the payroll sheet, right click on the sheet name, move or copy, and select create a copy. And rename that sheet as calculations. Calculation sheet. Go to the column next to salary with the header as HRA. We are going to calculate the HRA TA for all the employees. Suppose the HRA is 40% of the salary. How do you calculate the HRA? Equals salary multiplied by 40%. H2 into 40%. Right? Now we have calculated the HRA for the first employee. There are 100 employees here. We need to calculate the HRA for the rest of the employees. So how do you calculate the HRA for rest of the employees? Should I drag it down? Yes. Okay. Now dragging is perfectly right, but if your database is a huge database and if you are going to drag it, the dragging might go beyond the database sometimes. So you need to again resize it. So instead of that, what you do is keep the cell on the right hand side corner, okay, right corner, bottom you can say. So when you keep your mouse on the bottom right, it will change into a black plus sign. This black plus sign is called as a fill handle. When the mouse becomes a fill handle, just double click it and you will see that it has automatically calculated up to the end of the database. No need to drag it. Show it once again. Once you have done the calculations, just keep your mouse at the corner, right corner, and double. It will exactly calculate up to the end of the database. Okay. Likewise, we are going to calculate the TA. TA suppose 20% of the salary. So one method to calculate the TA is, I can say equals H2 into 20% and then do the calculation. Absolutely right. But my question is, can I do the calculation of TA using absolute reference? I'm just asking for alternative method. Can I do the calculation of TA using absolute reference?
We can log the column name and J, $J and 2 into 20%.
Perfect. But $J into 20%. I want 20% of the salary.
Okay, so 20% of dollar H, $H, $2, $H2.
But for calculating the HRA, I did not log H2. Even then, it is giving me the values correctly. When you are manually typing 20%, where are we using the absolute reference?
%20 is itself the absolute.
20% is the absolute value, right? Here the salary values are changing. If I make it $H, $2, that means this 12,500 will get locked.
No, we will not do the $2, only $H we will do.
Okay, you are saying $H 2
Yeah,
multiplied by 20%, right?
yeah.
Correct. But this is similar to the formula that you have given in HRA, right? Only thing is that we are not put a dollar here.
Yes.
And what is the difference? We are not used absolute here. We are not used any absolute reference here. Even if you look at $H2, it is not absolute. It is mixed reference. When you have values in the same column, even if you don't specify a dollar sign, it won't make any difference. But if you are going to drag it across, then of course H should be down. See, my question is, since 20% is common, right? 20% is common, it is constant. Can't I use absolute reference here? Like we had done it in the earlier case. Here 10% was constant. So what did we do? We gave $16. That means we logged the 16th row. We can use the same concept here also. What we can do is, we can have a cell above the header, above TA, where we can write 20% and take a reference number. Okay. So how do you insert a blank row? What is the shortcut? Alt-IR, and here you type 20%. This also shows the advantage of using this particular method. So now my formula is equals H3 multiplied by J1, because we have 20% already typed there. Okay. Now I'll make it absolute, or you can also make it $1. It won't make any difference because we are not going to drag it across. H3 multiplied by $J, $1. Now what is the advantage here? Today the TA is 20%. Tomorrow suppose the TA becomes 25%. I just need to go to J1 and make it 25, and all the values will be recalculated. So I need to make change only in a single cell, and it will be automatically updated everywhere where the reference of J1 is taken. I make it 10% automatically everywhere, that 10% will be reflected. Okay. Now you can also take the reference in a different worksheet also. For example, let us say I'm going to this references sheet, and here I say equals 1000 multiplied by, I want to take the reference of J1 from the calculation sheet. So I'll click on J1, 200. So here you can see 1000 multiplied by J1, which is in the calculation sheet. Now suppose I make this as 40%. Then what will happen? It would have changed in the references sheet also. So here you can see it has become 400 now. So you can also take it, the reference to a different sheet or even a different workbook also. Okay. Is this clear, everyone?
Yes.
Fine. You save the file